Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this new training. So many of you guys requested lately a video on how to analyze Facebook ads properly. And exactly that is what I'm going to discuss in this short video, which is going to take about 5 to 10 minutes maximum. And I'm going to give you all the insights from what I've gained in the past 4 years when I was advertising on Facebook with my own dropshipping stores. So this training will be about how to get 100 plus orders per day with Facebook ads and basically on how to analyze them in order to scale. Because you need to analyze properly in order to scale or to kill campaigns. Otherwise you will just lose money, and I'm going to help you with that right now. So let's dive into it. So first of all, Facebook ads are basically the key to product success. That's of course, that's clear because, your Facebook ads basically are the first thing that customers will see from your product. And if you cannot convince them with your ads and from there on analyze it properly, you will never be able to scale even though you have a really good product. So your ad campaign structure, I'm going to show you how it looks like, what I do, and from there on I'm going to show you on how to analyze them, okay? So first of all, I want you to know that there is no right or wrong. Look, many people think, okay, should I test with ABO campaigns, so ad set budget optimization, or should I go with CBO campaigns and maybe other ways around that as well? And I can tell you everything could work. The most important thing is that your ad creatives are right, and how to structure them is basically what I'm going to show you right now. Because over the past years I've tried a lot of things, and this is exactly what's working for me right now and what we are using. So me and also of course our clients. So we start always with ABO campaigns because I do think and I do believe that ABO campaigns from the start are better than CBO campaigns because you're going to give Facebook a specific interest with ad sets, and from there on you basically decide where the budget will be spent on which specific interest, instead of in CBO where Facebook is going to source that for you. So start with ABO campaigns, create 5 ad sets, and under each ad set you're going to insert one specific interest. If you do multiple, then you don't know which specific interest was working good and which one was not. Which one caused the sales and which one was basically less profitable. Therefore, you would always want to have only one interest in each ad set. Otherwise, it would be very hard to analyze later on. And point 3 is that you use 4 different ad creatives at least. If you do, for example, if you only test one ad creative and it's not working, that could be an indication for you, okay, I'm going to kill it because my product is not working. But if your creative is maybe not strong enough, then that could be the case, and that might cause, let's say, no sales or whatever you're aiming for. So your ad creatives are most important thing of your advertising structure, and therefore you would like to have at least 4 different creatives from the start. So at the end of, let's say, 24 hours, you already know, okay, what are the KPIs, and is it basically due to my creative which are not working, or is it just the product, right? And that's basically how you expand your risk. So that's always what I want you to do. Set your budget at $10 per day for every single ad set. If you do it lower, eventually Facebook still needs more time to optimize. Because if you only give Facebook a $5 budget per day for an ad set, then you don't give Facebook enough space to find your right audience. So you always want to give them enough space to see and basically to track which specific audience group suits your product, and therefore you give them more space with a higher budget. But eventually we're going to kill the products earlier on in the stages when it's just not working, if that's an indication, maybe after a few hours. And I'm going to explain that in a bit. This results in more detailed explanation about which interests work and which not, of course. So creatives, use 2 videos or images. And what I use basically, as I said in here, use 4 different creatives, right? And what I mean with 4 different creatives is use 2 videos or images and 2 ad copies. And the images, of course, it depends on the product. For example, fashion products are working very well for me with only images instead of videos. But if you have your product that needs explanation, it's always good to use videos. And ad copies, test out which kind of ad copies work for yourself. Because everything, could work for someone else. But if it's not working for you, or you do it slightly different, it could be already, causing different results. So therefore you would like to test 2 videos or images and 2 ad copies, because Facebook is eventually going to spend the most budget on the best performing ad creative. So, from there on you will expand your risk. So, use CBO campaigns when your pixel is warmed up. That's why I said, from the start you would like to first, start with ABOs, because most likely you will have a cold pixel with no data at all, and therefore Facebook is going to source the right audience for you. But with no data, it would be very hard to find the right audience. So have at least 500 plus orders on your store when you start with CBO campaigns from the start, if you would like to do so. That's what I recommend. Then create 3 ad sets under each CBO campaign, and all with no interest. Spread your risk, because as I said, CBO, Facebook is so going to source the right audience for you within that campaign. And if you use, for example, one time no interest, it could be that that specific ad set is just not working. And Facebook is going to spend eventually the most budget on the best performing ad set, even though they are all the same interest, maybe no interest, so very broad. Then you are still going to expand the risk, because the more budget is going to be towards the, let's say, the interest or ad set which is going to perform the best on CBO level. So at campaign level, you set the budget at $50 per day. This equals the same amount of budget as an EBO, but basically there you're going to spend $10 per day per ad set, and here you're going to set up the budget at $50 per day for the whole campaign. And of course, we are going to kill it in the early stages when it's not working, and when it's actually working, of course, we want to spend more because we get more in return, right? As well, use 4 different creatives, basically exactly the same as I explained on ad set level. Now the ad analyzation part, and I think this is the most valuable part, and what many of you, of course, requested. So how I analyze my campaigns and my students as well is as follows. When you start analyzing your ads, you should always start focusing on the following data. These are the most important parts of your analyzation phase. So your CPC, which is going to be the cost per click, your CTR rate, so the click-through rate, so how many people click through to your ad, right, to your website, for example, or where you are going to send them to. The CPM is cost per mail. This is going to be how many people, how many are you going to spend to actually get 1,000 people watching your ad. And for example, that depends per country, but as well as per product. If you use a saturated product, more likely you will have a high CPM, which is going to mean you have to spend more money to reach, let's say you spend the same amount of money maybe, or more money to reach less customers, for example in the US, because the market is so saturated. If you're going to sell in, let's say, Germany, then you have a CPM maybe of 10, while it's in US maybe you have 50. So you have 5 times more people with the same amount of budget in Germany if you compare it to US. And that's why, for example, me and also my students are active in countries like Europe, right? Add to cart rate, that's also important, because if there are no add to carts on your web page and your ads are performing well, then we need to fix something on your website. And of course the ROAS, this is the return on ad spend. And for example, if you're going to spend $10, of, let's say $1 on ads, and you sell something for $10, then your ROAS is 10, right? So that's what you get in return for spending $1 on an ad. That's also very important, because therefore you can basically calculate if you're going to be profitable or not when you're advertising. And basically let me explain this a bit more. So the CPC, where we always focus on, is a CPC of lower than 50 cents. Depends on dollars, euro, which currency you're going to use. Your CPC, so your cost per click. So how many it will cost you to, let's say when a customer clicks on your ad, right? So they will go through your website. It's where we are always aiming for is to have a lower than 50 cents, because if it's higher, that's most likely going to be an indication that people are just not engaging enough with your content. And the lower the better, of course. And CTR is the other way around, because the CTR has to be 2 to 3% minimum, and the higher the better. So your click-through rate, so the rate of how many people will click on, for example, the link that will send them to your website, should be 2 to 3% minimum. If it's lower, most likely your content is just not engaging enough, and the higher the better. Sometimes you will see even 4, 5 or 6%. If you see that, I can guarantee you it's when you don't have purchases, it's not because of your ads, but because something that is wrong on your website. And that's also what I'm going to explain in the next slide. Your CPM really depends on the country that you're going to target. So your CPM, what I said, your cost per mail, so how many you have to spend to reach 1,000 visitors, or let's say people watching your ad, depends per country, because the more advertisers, the higher the CPM will be. and focus on an 8% plus add to cart rate on Facebook and in your Shopify analytics. Many people don't understand this, but they only focus, for example, on Facebook. But sometimes Facebook doesn't track the right data, and therefore you don't know if the add to cart rate or the actual purchases are actually accurate. And therefore you would also always want to rely on Shopify analytics combined, because that's going to be an indication that it's true or not true what Facebook is going to give you. And we want to focus on 8% plus add to cart rate on Shopify as well. That's going to cause, better conversions at the end. So focus on a ROAS of 2 to 3 plus in order to scale. And what I mean with that is basically, if your break-even ROAS, so how many ROAS that you need to make in order to be break-even, if it's lower than that break-even ROAS, so let's say your break-even ROAS is 1.90, and your ROAS on Facebook is going to be 2, that means that you're profitable. Not that big, but you're profitable. And the higher the ROAS, the better, because then you can actually scale, and that's going to be an indication to you that you're profitable or that you're unprofitable, right? So that's very important. So I also created an analyzing cheat sheet, what I'm going to share with you right now, which is going to be very, very, very beneficial for you if you're going to apply it as well, right? So let me see. Yeah, as you can see here, of course we focus on CPC, CTR, CPM, add to cart rate, ROAS, and the purchases at the end, of course. So on Facebook, you'll do this, as I said, and analyze always on Shopify and Facebook, on add to cart, initiate checkout, and purchases to see if it's actually tracking accurate. Okay, this is very important. If your stats are good on Facebook, but you have no add to carts, then it's basically a product or an offer problem. And therefore, your discount is maybe not working enough, or your selling price is maybe too high. If your stats are good and also add to carts, but no sales, so it's going wrong after the initiate checkout, then you need to change your offer, or you to check your checkout, or the last thing that you can do is also that you, for example, don't have the necessary payment methods within a specific country where you're selling in. Because many people, they don't check it at all. They don't make a test purchase, let's say, for when their store gets live. And from that point, they can advertise what they want, but they will never see sales when the checkout is not working. Always check your checkout, and as well which payment methods are used in a specific country, because if you don't have the payment methods available, then people, of course, are not willing to buy, because it's not going to give them the payment methods that they want to pay with. So always make that clean, of course. And if you're the last thing, if your stats are good on Facebook and are not good on Facebook, and you don't have add to carts and sales from that point as well, then it's or that your creatives are not working, so your creatives are just not, you're basically not converting, or it is just your product that you need to switch on, and then you need to move on to the next product. And the benefit of dropshipping, for example, is that you can test a lot of product without having any stock, which is going to cause you that you have no risk. There's no risk involved. You can test any product you would like without any knowledge or experience. So that's basically why I started with dropshipping, as well as the students are starting with dropshipping and making money with it right now. So these are the 3 most important things where you need to look at on, for example, your web page, or on the analyzing part whenever a specific occasion is happening, right? So this is a cheat sheet that we always use, and where we are going basically looking at, me and my students as well, when we are analyzing. And these are, of course, the no-brainers. That's going to cost as well, CPC, if it's higher than €1 after, for example, the €5 spent out of the 10 that you're going to give to NetChat, then you should kill it. If there is no add to cart after half of your margin spent, so the half of your, let's say, your profit margin, then you need to kill it as well. And if there is no sale after your whole margin spent, and you do have add to carts, and you've analyzed it properly, but you cannot do anything about your product page, maybe lowering the price or whatever, then you should kill it as well, because it will never be profitable at that point. And if you have €35 spent and 3 plus sales, then it's going to be a winner. And then it's very important to scale as well. And that's what I'm going to cover as well in next week's video. So this was basically the cheat sheet, and also explanation about the analyzation phase of Facebook ads. So these are the foundations for Facebook ads, which I always use to make myself over 100 plus orders on a daily basis, and as well as my students are doing now. So if you want to get your hands on this cheat sheet, for example, then comment cheat sheet below if you want to receive this, and I will just send it over personally for free. I would be happy to share it with you, Just let me know if you would like to have it, and I hope there was also a valuable video to you. So feel free to send me a DM on Instagram or on Facebook if you have any questions about Facebook ads, about analyzation or whatever, or just in dropshipping in general. I would love to share my thoughts about that, and maybe how I can serve you as well to make also, let's say, 100 orders per day, right? So thank you for watching again, and I'm looking forward to see you next week's video. Take care. Ciao.